number 10 of the Grounded Brand Podcast. Glad to be here.
Yep.
Double digits.
It's getting close to the end of the season here. We are wrapping up in Alabama.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It is wild to think that it is gone already.
I think my season may be over with, actually.
My season is over with. Last hunt was today, actually.
Yep, this morning.
Went this morning.
So it's kind of a sad day.
Yep.
Good day, but sad day.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know?
say, it felt kind of somber
Yeah.
getting into that intro.
I know. I was really hoping we'd start the podcast out with Colton's first turkey.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
was
it
the
didn't
plan.
happen. Didn't happen this year.
No.
It's all right.
Well, we still got Tennessee.
Yeah, we still got Tennessee.
That's true. We got Tennessee. Been trying to tell y'all we got Tennessee. And
If you can find an invite.
yeah, that's right. Anyone listening, if you got a spot in Tennessee, I'll drive.
I mean, we were just trying to save you a couple $100, Colton. We really wanted to get you one here, so.
I know. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I think it's just funny though, because, I kept talking. I was like, hey, I'll pay to get, my out-of-state license.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go anytime. And you're like, no, we'll get it done in Alabama.
Yeah.
And we went hunting. I think it was the first trip we went hunting.
Yeah.
And we got skunked at the first spot we went to. And Brandon pulls up his phone and looks at his game camera, and there's about 13 turkeys looking at his game camera in Tennessee.
He's like, yep, told y'all.
yeah,
Like, I
should've
told
gone
you,
down.
we could have been there.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's all right, though.
That's right. So this episode, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about our hunts from this past week, what few times we did get to go. And we're going to throw in some late season strategies on how to hopefully harvest that gobbler that you've been after and maybe haven't killed yet, haven't connected with him.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. So Colton and Brandon, you guys got to go earlier in the week.
Yeah.
So why don't you fill everybody in on what happened and how eventful that hunt was?
I don't know about eventful.
I mean, it started out pretty eventful.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think the first time we went hunting, we didn't even hear a bird gobble.
Yeah, we didn't at all.
So this was our second hunt that Colton was able to go on, and so we had a couple hours before work one day this week, and we was able to hit a club up that I've got permission to hunt on, and got there early, and went to the camp, and I told Colton, I was like, we're just gonna hang out here at the camp and see if we can hear something get fired up. Well, we talk about patience, and I was not very patient that morning because I think after about 5 minutes of sitting at the truck, I was like, man, let's go. I know where there's going to be a bird at more than likely.
Yeah.
And so
You were,
anyway,
to be fair, you were on edge that morning.
yeah, I don't know why. I was ready to get you on a bird or something.
You were pumped because for context, for people that don't know this, I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I have an insulin pump.
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah.
And we get out of the truck and my insulin pump starts going off. And Brandon snaps his head around and goes, that thing got a silent mode or what? Because you might have to leave that in the truck.
I mean, it was so loud, I thought it was a new locator call that you brought with you. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, yeah, it's time for that thing to go on silent
It's a new
mode.
product we're working on. It's it just beeps. It doesn't make anything else.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, so we hopped in the truck, drove down to the end of the drive before we got on the main road, and I did hear a bird gobble. And I thought it was over where we ended up going and getting set up. And so we got parked, got out, and we sat there for a minute just listening. And then, wouldn't you know, the bird gobbled back at camp.
Yeah, back towards camp.
Back towards camp, yeah. And so here we go. We start hiking,
Yep.
as Colton likes to call it.
Man, it is a hike. I'll tell you what, at like 5 a.m. going up them hills, I told Brandon I was winded. I mean, like,
You were sucking wind.
I
for
was
sure.
sucking wind for sure. Yeah.
Like, Colton, we gotta get your legs in shape, buddy.
It's not even my legs, it's just my cardio,
Just your
man. It's
cardio.
just, yeah.
I hear you, man. But yeah, we got on a bird that was gobbling, and Colton, I think, actually heard it first, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, we got set up. We walked in the woods about 150, 200 yards.
Right.
And Brandon called out and heard it gobble, and so we kept going, and we would go another 100 yards, call, heard it gobble. And then we got to a crossroad, and as soon as we got to the crossroad, we didn't hear it gobble for a minute.
No.
And finally, after probably about 5 minutes or so, we finally heard a gobble again. Well, it sounded far this time.
Yeah.
And so we went across the road, went about another 150 yards, and all of a sudden we ran up on some deer.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, man, we did not hear them turkeys gobble.
No, I think we heard them one more time because we ended up making our way down to where we thought they had roosted at that morning. And we got to where I thought they were, and then they gobbled again. And then they ended up gobbling in a place where on the map we can hunt, but it's around a place where they don't allow hunting.
Yeah.
So we just kind of
safety zone and
stuff.
stuff.
Safety zone. So we just kind of eased out and made our way back to the truck because I knew another place on the area that we could go to where there had been a bird out there previously just strutting, doing this thing. Unfortunately, we just don't have permission to hunt that field.
Yeah, the funny thing though, Brandon talks about patience, is because when we finally got to the edge, right around that safety zone, right around that house, we're standing on like the edge of the hill, and you can just see like it's all scratched up, it's torn up.
Yeah, it's torn up.
And it's probably 100 yards away from camp.
Yeah.
Where we said we should have just been patient
and
waited. And so we probably hiked like a mile.
Yeah.
Mile and a half all the way to get back to camp just to find out that's where we think they were.
Yeah.
But I mean, I told Brandon afterwards, I think that what ended up happening is we actually don't know if there was two separate ones.
Yeah.
Because there was one that, I mean, it only sounded about 100 yards away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it got spooked off when we spooked the deer.
Yeah.
And after that, we heard the other one that ended up, I think, walking off past that house. And so, we went back to the truck, and then we jotted across and went to that field.
Yep. Well, as soon as we got back to the road, we look across the field, and sure enough, there's a one blowed up with about 4 or 5 hens or so.
Yep.
Thought it was actually 2 gobblers at first, but then we realized that it was only one. So we ended up getting in a truck, making a move, driving down, getting in a position to get as close as we possibly could to this property that we could hunt. And so we got set up, and I actually put Colton right on a point of some tree lines, and I made my way on down so I could get a better look because this bird was probably 700 yards away or so. I mean, he was a piece.
Yeah.
And I could tell pretty quickly that they were not coming our way. But, at that point, that's the only bird to play with, so you're trying to do everything you can. So I'm calling, and he's looking up. I'm getting his attention, and he's looking up, and obviously the hens are starting to kind of feet away from me.
Yeah.
And so he's just obviously going to end up going where the hens are going to go at.
Right.
But that was pretty much all there was to it. I think I told Colton we needed to be out of there by 8:00.
Yeah.
And I think we even got out of there before 8:00.
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, what Brandon fails to mention is when he put me on this point, he left and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go see if I can't get them to come over this way." And I said, "That's fine." 15 minutes go by. I don't even, I kid you not. Like
Brandon was hunting that turkey.
that's what I'm saying, man. 15 minutes went by. I couldn't even hear him calling, nothing. 30 minutes go by. I'm like, he's asleep on a tree. So I actually pull out my call and I start calling because Brandon set his gun down because, like Brandon said, they were a poke away.
Yeah.
I mean, they were far. And I thought, he didn't have his gun, so I didn't know if he was able to call them over.
Yeah.
And then he didn't have his gun. Well, not only that, we have no cell service out there whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so, like, he can't even text me to be like, "Hey, they're right in front of me. I need you to call." So I actually just started calling just in case. No, he came back over, and he was like, "Yeah, they turned the other way and walked away." So I was calling and nothing.
The reason I left
man.
the reason I left my gun there because I didn't want to shoot it if I did call it over there. I thought that'd be pretty crummy of me to do.
Yeah.
It would have been all right.
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty much the extent of our hunt. Like I said, I had to get to work. Colton had to get to work, and so we were out of there by 8:00. And then I guess that was pretty much it until Saturday. I know that we were able to find some time to go hunting. I guess this being yesterday, I wanted to get Bailey. That's been my hope this year to get her longbeard. She was able to get a Jake last year, so we've been on a few hunts this year and called some Jakes in, but we've not had an opportunity on a longbeard yet this year. So I felt pretty good about going up to this spot, and sure enough, we got up there, got set up, and had one gobbling right off the roost, probably about 150 yards away, and she and I were set up on a tree, and we had some decoys out, and was able to call him in. We're sitting up on top of this hill, and it kind of drops off into the woods, and so we can only see probably about 20 yards out in front of us before it rolls off this hill. And so he got down to the bottom of the hill, and he was gobbling. Like I said, it took him, once he pitched down, it probably took him 10 minutes to get over there to where we were at, but he was closing and gobbling the entire time. And anyways, he just ended up making a huge loop around us, so he ended up being able to see the decoys. And with it being late season, sometimes that can be a bad thing for birds. They've already gone through the whole spring pecking order. Some birds have done been whooped up on. And we had a jake and we had a hen out there as well too. And really the main reason for me to have the decoy out there was for Bailey, because there's going to be movement when she's with me anyways, and just something to keep that bird's eyes off of us is the main reason I had it out there. But anyways, it I'm assuming was spooked by that just a little bit, but it ended up coming up, gobbling probably 100 times or more, strutting, made a big loop around us, actually ended up working his way back to where he was roosted at, and stayed down there and gobbled probably 30 more minutes or so. And I was able to call him back, and he did the same thing he did earlier in the morning. He just stayed right on the edge of the woods, just out of our sight. Didn't have a shot on him. Ended up popping up in the field behind us. And at that point, he just started gobbling and walking away from us. And we let him get out of sight, and Bailey and I hopped up, and we tried to make a move on him. It didn't work out. We got to a point where we were coming down into this pasture, and I thought he gobbled to my right. He actually ended up gobbling to the left, and as I stepped out, I bumped him, and that was pretty much it. But other than this morning's hunt, that's all the time I've really had an opportunity to go. So,
Yeah.
Drew?
you, Drew?
Yeah, me and Dad got out one morning, real quick hunt. I mean, heck, I think we were back to the truck in like an hour, probably, maybe hour and a half max. But once finally a turkey did gobble pretty late, one that we could hunt. We heard some other birds way off on places we couldn't hunt, and go up the hill, and get set up. And about the time, we're kind of easing in the woods, getting decently close, and hey, let's set up here. Birds gobbling. We sat down, and the turkey shuts up, don't gobble anymore. And we're like, and they've been gobbling pretty good,
Yeah.
We're kind of like, what in the world? Like, I'm wondering, like, did coyote run up under him and spook him, or because we were setting up like 140 yards from him, probably 150. Far enough where he wasn't going to see us. And we sat there for a few more minutes, and the next thing I know, Joker gobbles, and he's all the way in the bottom, done pitched off the hill in the bottom where we started out. And several hundred yards down there. In fact, he probably had to walk. I think he walked right by the truck, honestly.
Wow.
I think just literally, we pulled off the side of the road, and I think he walked down the road right past the truck.
That'll hurt your feelings.
And got around on him, and he just didn't want to come down in this corner that we were in. I think he's probably, late season. He's played the game before. And closest he got was probably, 90, 100 yards.
Right.
And he went back to the neighbor's place and gobbling, the whole time, walking away from us.
Dang.
So yeah, that was one morning, and then Saturday morning we got to go take Lincoln out for a little while. And first place we went to, didn't have any luck there. Didn't even hear turkey gobble. Went to another place, and actually place that we started out with Colton.
Yep.
And that I'd really been saving. So that was only the second time we'd been up there to this place, and pull up, and sure enough, man, 2 longbeards out in the field strutting, and there's looks like probably 1 or 2 hens and a couple jakes with them.
Okay.
So we're like, all right, game on, let's go. And
Yeah.
Lincoln looks at me and he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, we'll go to the bathroom.
Yeah, there's a whole.
And he's like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to do that out here. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to go home. So if you'd have told me 2 years ago that I'd be leaving 2 strutting longbeards in a field that I can hunt, I'd have, told you you're crazy. But man, when kids are involved, life is a lot different. So we turned around, went back to the house, and talked to Colton last night and said, hey, let's go in the morning. They'll be there.
Yep.
And so we got up in there this morning and sat down, dark, man, pretty morning. I mean,
Oh man,
morning.
couldn't ask for a better morning.
bird. So it was me and Colton and Brandon and my dad. So all 4 of us, Dad and Colton, were behind the gun. And
We were just there for moral support.
yeah, we were.
Moral support, is that what y'all are calling it out there this morning? Okay.
Yeah.
So we get there, like I said, beautiful morning. We walk in. I mean, nice and warm, like not cool at all. Wind is a little, blowing probably 7, 8, 9 miles an hour. A little windy, but not
Slight
bad.
breeze.
Yeah.
It was nice.
And
though.
clear. I mean, birds start singing. We're like, all right.
There we go.
Turkeys never gobbled, of course, And
Never even heard nothing.
then somebody came in on the property behind us and blew a crow call about 60 times.
I will say this: he
guy
was
was
persistent.
He was
That guy was
persistent.
cranking that crow.
Yeah.
Man.
He was, man. Good night.
And that was the end of that hunt. We just basically sat there, did not hear a turkey all morning.
No.
And then time to get up and go to church.
We had a lot of
keep
we
the
had a lot of
priority the
laughs,
priority.
though. A lot of laughs.
Yeah,
We did. We laughed a lot.
Yeah.
That might be why we didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That guy may have called something up if he'd have used a call, an actual hen call, as many times as he did the crow
He
call.
crow called all morning long.
Yeah. He did.
Hey, he might have been crow hunting for all we know.
Well, he was calling them in.
He sure was.
He definitely called something in.
I think the only thing we saw was a coyote this morning.
Yeah, black coyote too.
Yeah.
Never seen one of those before.
Yeah, first one I've seen in the woods. So
Your dad's like, there's a black fox over there. I'm like, that is not a fox.
It's
The big old fox.
mangiest looking fox I've ever seen, if
That's
that's
a
true.
mangy looking coyote, really. Is what
yeah,
it
he really was. Yeah,
Well,
shedding that winter
I saw
coat.
a movement and I was like, what is that? Is that like I thought it was a cat, honestly, because it was so far off.
Right.
And then y'all pulled out your binos and
Yeah,
coyote.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, tough sledding late in the season here
Yeah,
in
it is.
Alabama. Turkeys have been hunted, they've been pressured, they've been messed with, and that's just kind of part of it.
Yeah, it is. But, you just got to face the challenges and
That's right.
put a plan together and try to overcome those challenges. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like we talked about, we're late season and I mean, none of us were even able to get anything really working.
Right.
Well, I guess you guys were able to work something, but so let's talk about kind of late season tactics because I've been seeing a lot of people talking about it and we actually have been talking about it as well. Mainly because I think the places you guys take me on purpose.
And
really,
late season.
End of the season. But let's talk about some late season tactics. So, Brandon, you mentioned something this morning, and that is, late in the season, you're really not going to call to them too much.
Right. Yeah. So, kind of like this morning when we got set up, birds have, for now, probably 4 to 5 weeks, have had people calling to them. And one of the things I thought this morning was, maybe it'd probably be a good idea just to let the birds wake up and do their own thing and just go about their normal routine.
Right.
Without hearing a bunch of extra calling that they normally don't hear anyways. And it probably didn't help the fact that guy was 200 yards behind us, blowing a crow call as loud as he could, which I'm sure they probably heard that every time that guy went in the woods.
Yeah.
Most likely.
And extra calls as well, too. And, these birds, some of them have probably seen some of their buddies die. And so I'm sure they memorized some of those calls that they've heard before their running mate died. You know? So to me, I'm not going to call as much. Now, yesterday morning, I will say this: when Bailey was with me, it's a little bit different story. This is a piece of private land that there's not a whole lot of pressure around it, and so I did call quite a bit to that bird. But even with it being late season, these birds have routines and patterns, just like this bird did yesterday. So when he came to us and made that loop around us, and he started walking away, and he was walking away gobbling the entire time. And my whole thought process was, okay, he's got a routine. What is his routine? In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to make this path. He's going to hit this field first, and then he's just going to keep working his way down until he gets to that bottom pasture. And he's just going to gobble till he gobbles in a hen or something.
Right. Yep.
So one thing that I've always tried to do in the past is usually try not to call as much. And if you know their routine, and you probably have some kind of an idea where they want to be at or where they're going to go, just try to get in that zone and be in that area. So when they do show up, you're ready for them. So that's something I would say.
It's something as a first time hunter, I honestly wouldn't think about.
Yeah.
I think and I even question it, in my mind. I mean, when we were out there,
Yeah.
like, why are we not like trying to hammer down on these calls and bring them in? Cause I'm like, they ain't doing nothing. Let's try and bring them in, But, yeah, I agree with the point they've been hunting all season, and you want to give them some relief and let them do their routine and stuff like that. I think what's interesting though is, you're obviously trying to imitate the hen and stuff and bring them in, and so when you're not calling, you hope that they have a hen nearby, or they're just going to wander off.
Well, typically, if you get them gobbling late in the season anyways, they're probably by themselves. And at this point, the hens have already gone off to nest.
Yeah.
And so you just got lonely gobblers out there.
Yeah, that's true.
And so if you get one that starts to gobble on its own, then at that point, you can start to get aggressive with them and try to lure them in.
Fire them up.
Yeah.
Fire them up that way. So
What's the likelihood? I mean, because all the gobblers we've seen have been with hens. We have not seen a lone one.
Yeah.
At least when I've been with you guys.
yeah.
So what's the likelihood at this point that you've got a gobbler that's alone?
Well, I guess it really just depends on the situation.
Yeah, that's going to be more dictated on, localized population.
Right. Stuff.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, that bird that Bailey and I was on, he was by himself. I mean, that morning there was a couple other birds gobbling right there with him, which I thought were jays. But, he came in and he was lonely for a while. When we got down in that bottom pasture, there were a couple hens down there.
Yeah.
But it's just really going to be dictated by where they're at, what the population is, and so forth.
So Drew, what about you? What's some late season tactics that you've got?
I think late season. So historically, for me speaking, the last 7 days of Alabama seasons, it's always been the strongest for me and my dad. I mean, we like I said before, we pretty much hunt almost every single day together when we hunt. And usually, that last week of the season, we're gonna kill, usually at least 4 turkeys. It's just strong because it seems like all the gobblers that we can find don't have hens anymore.
Right.
And but I will say one thing I've noticed is they're typically not as vocal late season. So I tend to find myself being a little more patient, especially early in the mornings. A lot of times early season, if a bird's not gobbling or if turkeys are not gobbling on a farm, I'll hop in the truck and run down the street to a different place, or and try to find a hot turkey. In late season, I don't do that as much. I tend to be more patient and move more slow. That's just kind of my thought process with it. Everybody's got their own thought process. I don't call as much, like Brandon was talking about. And then I think also something that you have to consider is your history with that piece of property.
Yeah.
Late season, there's a lot more bugs for birds to feed on. There's a lot greener grass, things are already greened up a good bit. And so they're not going to be in the woods scratching as much. So it's harder to find, that scratching in those feeding sites. So you really have to pay attention to where you're seeing birds at on these properties and keep that in mind for the following years. And years to come. So you need to be scouting for next season during this season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you're scouting with a gun because obviously you never know what can happen.
Right.
But always have that in mind. Hey, let's learn. Even if we're out here and we don't kill a turkey today, we're still going to learn something. We're still going to take something away. So those are kind of, like Brandon said, don't call as much.
Yeah.
Personally,
it's funny. You talk about you being more patient, and your dad is a very patient person.
Very.
Because
we hunt very different. I'll say that.
It's very, very different. It's I think it's personality difference, honestly, because you are like, all right, let's go. I think the first time I heard you say let's go this morning, it was 6:30. And your dad was like, just be patient. And we sat there for another hour, and then we were like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an old saying is patience kills turkeys, and it definitely does in the right time.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of the coin is, well, you could be right down the road on a farm that's got turkeys that are hot.
Exactly.
Either that or you could be ready to walk out of those woods right there.
That's right. That's right. And it's funny because the first weekend that all of us went together, I texted Dad something that morning. I don't remember what it was, and I do remember actually. It was like, hey, birds aren't gobbling this morning. Think I'm going to go down to so and so's place.
Yeah.
And try it. And he's like, just be patient, boy. Turkeys are still there.
I know, right?
And guess what? They were not there.
Oh man, they were there somewhere, but
Yeah.
they did not let us know that they were there.
Yeah.
And we did go down the road and find 2 longbeards to get on.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we went down the road.
They didn't want to play with us, but they were there.
Yeah.
You know, even you talked about turkeys being more tight-lipped and stuff. That's one thing I've noticed, except for that hunt that Brandon and I went on.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're just not wanting to gobble right now, and I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I couldn't tell you if it's got something to do with the weather when we've gone, because it has been real, except for this morning. I mean, it's been kind of windy and stuff like that. We went, it was kind of rainy and stuff too. So, I think late season, like you guys said, they've just been hunted.
Yeah, they have been hunted, but I think a lot of hunters also, because of that mindset, they just don't even want to go out and attempt it anymore. So I feel like if you can get a hold of a bird, the likelihood of you being able to call them in is pretty dang good.
Agreed.
So So I definitely, I mean, I'm gonna go regardless.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go from opening day to the last day if I can.
Yeah.
But like Drew said, just knowing the patterns of the places that you've hunted at in the past, and just kind of remembering where they were at late season in previous years, just going and set it up on in those areas, and hopefully you can get one. So
yeah, that's a good thing. Something you said that I haven't thought about is like scouting now for next season. Even if you can take the afternoon or whatever and just walk a piece of property that you've got for next year, you can look for those scratching grounds and things like that. Start mapping that stuff out, because more than likely that's where they'll be next year.
Either that, or start pulling up some maps and finding out who owns some property.
Start making some
phone calls for next year.
Yeah, we got a few phone calls we need to make. Based on what we've seen this year.
That's right.
For sure. But the end of the season is here. You got to make the best of it and take every opportunity you can when you get the opportunity to go. So
yeah, I think in Alabama, I mean, how many more days do we have as of recording this?
I guess about 10.
Yeah,
9 or 10 days left.
Yeah, we got
9 or 10 days
a little bit
left.
longer in Tennessee. So
Tennessee runs to the end of May. So hopefully we can get up there, Colton. Late season.
Late season.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I can get on one of those honey pot turkeys.
Honey
you guys got?
Yeah, that's right. One of those Waffle House birds.
Them Waffle House birds. Yeah, that's it.
Or Hardee's.
Hardee's, yeah.
But yeah, man, late season can be tough hunting, but at the same time, it's a lot of rewarding. I've killed.
It can be very good.
Yeah,
very
it can
good.
be. I've killed several birds on the last day of the season, so it's definitely worth going out there. And for those guys that say it's not worth it, stay at home. That's fine with me. Less competition.
That's right. Like we've talked about several episodes this year, like Dwayne talked about, like Zach has talked about. Don't take it for granted. Enjoy every time, every moment that you get to spend. I know as we were walking out this morning, you and I, Colton, we're just talking about how beautiful of a day it was. Bluebird skies, a nice breeze, temperature probably about 60 degrees. Walking through a field that had just been planted in corn. Just beautiful, And would you have gone out there and walked all the way across that field had you not been chasing a turkey?
No, probably not.
So get out there and enjoy the time that you really do get, and have fun and make memories.
Yeah,
and just be thankful for God's creation and His blessing and provision in your life. Try your best not to take it for granted.
Yeah,
that's easy to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, even though when we've gone, we haven't been lucky enough to get one, but we had a lot of memories.
That's right.
Brandon nearly came out of his skin this morning with a chipmunk. So,
well, I'm just reliving that snake story we told last time. I saw black stripes, and I thought it was a snake coming down the trail on me. So
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
No one believes us, Drew.
Nope, that's fine.
But
we know the truth.
Anyways, guys, this has been a short episode, kind of late season. We just want to give an update on our season. We hope your season has been going well. And, hey, I want to thank you guys personally. I know Drew sees it, and I share it with Brandon as well. We've gotten a lot of pictures of people in our gear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That have been successful. So, big shout out to you guys. We consider you guys part of our family. When you purchase our products, it means a lot to us, and we thank you guys that you trust us, and a lot of great reviews on the new stuff that's been coming out. So, thank you guys so much. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 10. Next time we'll have a little bit of a longer episode, but as we kind of wrap up the season here, we just kind of wanted to talk about, some things that we're noticing, as well as, kind of give some insights into our hunt. So, if you haven't been successful, you're not alone, because I've seen like just a handful and can't get on any. So, no, but thank you guys so much for listening. As I always say, if you're watching this on YouTube, we do have an audio version if you need to catch it on the road. And then if you're watching this on the audio version, you can check out our studio. You can see us. We got a whole setup here on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on social media at Grounded Brand Outdoors on all the platforms. And then check us out on our website too. It's groundedbrand.com. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.